So, you gonna do something this league, or am I just gonna have to badmouth you in the outro again? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and I was scouring the 5.0 decklist dumps trying to find something interesting to record with, and then I found a 5.0 decklist that played 2 copies of Oath of Ghouls, which is a card that I'd never seen before, so I figured it was worth giving a shot. Ignore the text on this card. It's written in a very poor way. Essentially, at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have more creature cards in your graveyard than your opponent does, you get to return a creature card from your graveyard to hand, and your opponent can do the same thing. When you are playing a symmetrical card of some kind, think for example a Trinisphere or a Chalice of the Void or a Blood Moon, you want your deck to be built in a way so that you get the better side of the deal. And today's deck list is going to be playing a lot of creatures in a relatively unfair way. Witherbloom Apprentice is a creature that has an infinite combo with Chain of Smog that I'll show in a second, that allows you to just drain your opponent from 20 to 0, or whatever their life total is, or a total of 4 mana. And you can spread it out over 2 turns. So off just 2 lands, you can go turn 2 Witherbloom Apprentice, turn 3 Chain of Smog, and kill your opponent. Conceptually, though, one of the problems is that in order for this combo to work, you have to go Hellbent. So to continue the chain, so Magecraft keeps triggering, you target yourself, meaning that you empty all the cards from your hand. So a lot of times combo decks will use counter magic to go and make it so that their combo can't be interrupted. Well, that doesn't really work here. It can work at first when you start the chain, but your opponent can let you do it a few times, lose a little bit of life, and then counter the Chain of Smog once your hand is empty, and it's just very, very, very safe. This is, in theory, where Legolas's Quick Reflexes is supposed to come into play. This is a split-second spell, so it cannot be responded to. It'll give your Witherbloom Apprentice Witherbloom Apprentice hexproof, and then all of a sudden your combo can't be stopped by removing your creature, which is the most common way that this combo is disrupted in Legacy. Now, as I hinted at in our little intro stinger for today, every league that I've recorded with Legolas's Quick Reflexes, this card has just been big doo-doo. Like, it has not done all of these, like, dream scenarios I have in my mind of what it is capable of doing. So we're going to give it another shot here. In my estimation, this card is reasonable in effect and pretty bad everywhere else that I've seen it. It's just so situational, despite how good it looks on paper. It just doesn't end up being that good in practice. And thank you to Alex D for giving me a dealer's choice donation deck list that lets me mess around with the fun stuff that you're seeing on screen today. I mean, come on, like, the deck list has a Spore Frog. What's not to like? All right, so in addition to the Witherbloom Apprentice Chain of Smog combo, we have Green Sun to kind of power it out. We have a decent number of assorted mana dorks to kind of ramp us into 3 mana in particular to get the Witherbloom Apprentice out, or alternatively 3 mana to play Chain of Smog while also being able to use Legolas's Quick Reflexes. And then there's a little bit of a mid-range creature package outside of that. We have 19 creatures, which is going to be more than a lot of Legacy decks. Not all Legacy decks, but a lot of Legacy decks. We do have a couple of high-powered tutor targets in the form of things like Collector Oof, and we do have some degree of white interaction. There's a lot of initiative creatures running around on Magic Online. Ancient Tomb is probably the best that it ever has been, and between the initiative decks and the kind of slightly overlapping but distinct like Goblin Stompy deck lists featuring Battlecry Goblin, there's a lot of stuff coming at us quickly. So we want to be able to win the game quickly on our own, which we do, and we want to be able to stop opposing creatures, especially Namesticker Goblin, and that's what Swords to Plowshares is supposed to do. I have some small concerns. We do have 5 1-mana dorks in this deck in a format that is full of Orcish Bowmasters. So that's a little sketch, but, you know, your Your Green Sun deck needs your Dryad Arbor and a handful of other creatures so that the Green Sun is good in the early game. Like, it's always going to be good in the late game with things like this to fetch, as well as some silver bullets for specific matchups. So yeah, once again, thanks to Alex D for giving me the dealer's choice donation deck list that let me play this deck for this video. And if you like what you see and you need to pick up your Oath of Ghouls or other cards that pop off today, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. And remember that YouTube members get early access to all my videos. Let's battle. We have a very powerful opening hand here. So on turn 2, I get to fetch a Bayou, play Witherbloom Apprentice while holding up Basic Forest to hold up Legolas's Quick Reflexes, and then I get to Chain of Smog combo on turn 3. So outside of some sort of like Trinosphere level nonsense, we're probably good. All right. It's fine. Like Archon of Emeria would be annoying. That's fine. You can have the Monarch. That is not going to meaningfully interact with what I'm doing. Like, it's very good for my opponent because they blew double Lotus Petal to take the initiative on turn 1. But I will already have deployed my Black Mana thing. I could take the initiative back with Noble Hierarch. Don't believe that is correct. Don't really have a way to deal with Blood Moon right now. I think I am just supposed to hold up Legolas's Quick Reflexes, so something like a Touch the Spirit Realm or Fury can't stop me from winning. Alright. That's fine. I think that means that I just have a deterministic win now. You can take your card. I've got Legolas's Quick Reflexes up. Oh, cool. So, Quick Reflexes. On Witherbloom Apprentice, it is hexproof with split second. It cannot be stopped. Chain of Smog. Target me. And now we just go infinite here. As I discard my own hand. Copy this, targeting myself, and this loop repeats. Alright, my opponent makes me click through it a few times before they concede, as they've obviously figured out that this is an infinite combo. So we're playing against a red-white initiative deck. I have a handful of options for how I can approach this matchup. I think I'm going to start by figuring out what I don't want from the main deck. Collector Oof is good against artifact mana, but I think is just, like, too slow on the draw. Like, the problem is whatever my opponent plays before I get a turn. I think I'm going to be interested in some Force of Vigor type stuff to remove Trinosphere, Chalice onto Blood Moon. I think I'm going to be interested in some extra removal. I don't think I'm going after the hand on the draw. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Legolas's Quick Reflexes is weird in that it has a great defense versus Solitude, which is a card that I care about a lot. Oath of Ghouls probably goes here. It's just too slow to matter in this matchup. Gaddock Teague stops my opponent from casting a couple of specific things. But I don't think I'm going to hate on 4th Aerlingas specifically. Ooze feels slow. Oh fuck, I'm a 61 card main deck. Of course I am. Keep Ooze? Keep Oof? Could Spore Frog. Spore Frog is a good way to buy an extra turn when I'm on the draw, but I think Spore Frog is more for unfair amounts of damage, like Reanimator levels of damage. Alright, I can keep a hand that can remove 2 early creatures, but has no real ability to win the game. I guess I can, like, play Noble Hierarch, Swords to Plowshare as a creature, take initiative, and, like, that sort of thing is fine. I'm not overly excited about this hand. I think I'm just gonna keep it, though. Like, I already have 1 basic for if I eat a turn 1 Blood Moon, and I technically have both my colors. Sure. 2 basics. I will just play Ignoble Hierarch into a white removal spell. Like, it is very much not the end of the world for me if I lose that card. Yeah, that's fine. Like, the upside is that my opponent uses a removal spell on it that doesn't get used on something like a knight that's more meaningful. This is fine. I have multiple different removal spells with different names. My Path to Exile is currently awkward because my opponent doesn't have red mana. So I imagine that my opponent just names swords to plowshares here. Alright, they agreed. Chain of Smog is not what I am looking for right now. It's not exactly a bad draw. Not exactly good either. I probably end up pre-combat swords to plowsharing, or sorry, Path to Exiling this card. I guess I'll let them go to the combat step. The land enters tapped, so they don't get to use the red mana this turn. No red basic land? Are you fucking serious right now? Yeah, that's fine. Like, if there's a basic mountain in your hand, that's okay. Yeah, there must be a basic in their hand. I think I need to contest the initiative by playing a knight. I'll let my opponent hit me for a decent amount, but then I can just have 2 knights in play onto Caracas and, like, use a knight to wasteland their ancient tomb. Okay, yeah, so my read that they've got a basic mountain in hand is probably correct if they are scrying here rather than trying to just end this game as quickly as possible. They're looking for gas. Alright, there's the basic mountain. Palace on 1 is annoying, but not the end of the world. I don't need 1-drops to win. Or the Aerlingas is annoying, because this always gets to get through due to the protection. Sure, Caves of Chaos Adventurer is a good draw, too. Alright, sort of unfortunate Chalice of the Void timing for me, but my opponent could just die if I draw a Witherbloom Apprentice. Like, that's just a thing that will be valid for the rest of the game. So how do I set myself up for success? I don't have any sort of manipulation here. I don't have any fun lands, right? Like, my only fun land is Dryad Arbor. Yeah. So I'm going to make a land drop. I'm going to play a new knight and just pass the turn here. And my goal is to use knight to marginally thin my deck while also probably making it so that Blood Moon can't take me. Well, I guess Blood Moon can take me off the combo, right? I can't do black in a single turn. I think I only have 1 basic swamp. That's fine. I'm at 12. Caves happens. Oh, let's assume this goes to 5. So next turn I take 5, 9, maybe a little bit more. Throne of the Dead 3 kind of throws things for a loop here as well. I think I'm going to do this and get a fetch land. I think I'm fetching for a Bayou rather than basic swamp right now. I want to leave the ability to easily cast Endurance if that's going to save me. Alright, that is not a valid live draw. I think I'm letting my opponent go to Throne of the Dead 3, and I'm just not happy about it. I am hoping to draw a Green Sun or Witherbloom Apprentice. I think my opponent has better gets than another Seasoned Dungeoneer there. Like Archon of Emeria preventing me from comboing off, for example, is kind of a huge deal, because like that's how I win from here. So quick note, Seasoned Dungeoneer targets clerics, rogues, warriors, or wizards, so it cannot target this human barbarian. There's Cavernous Souls. My opponent kept that on top, or no, sorry, that went to... Oh no, that one goes to hand, sorry. So I'm never surviving next turn. Never. I think I'm not going to get the Knight of the Reliquaries involved in combat. I think I'm just going to flash in an Endurance. We'll just go ahead and trade with that. I'll go to 6. 6 is still a number where I can thin my deck twice with Knight of the Reliquary without having to worry. Fable gets cast without paying its cost due to Caves of Chaos Adventurer and having completed an entire dungeon, which doesn't tend to happen very much because the game's just over. All right. At this point, I can get rid of my basic. It's just not relevant anymore. I'm going to use this to fetch a Bayou. You're dropping a piece of interaction versus my infinite combo to blink your initiative creature. Unless you can do this twice, I don't think that makes sense. It also doesn't come back until the next end step anyway. All right, so I have green, black. Let's just junk this scrubland. And I'll just turn Verdant Catacombs into Savannah. Yeah. So now I've got black, green, black, 1. I have the requisite colors to combo off. However, my draws don't line up in a way that allows me to do that. If my opponent blocks twice, they still have lethal easily. I'm going to Chain of Smog my opponent and see if they've got any spice in their hand they're willing to show me. They do not continue the chain. At this point, I am deterministically dead. I just have 3 cards that are unfortunately dead to Chalice. I think my opponent played that game exceptionally poorly, but here we are. When I'm on the play, Thoughtseize can be more interesting, as can Collector Oof. If I play Thoughtseize, I'm so much softer to Chalice, and I'm already kind of soft to Chalice, though. Thoughtseize very specifically makes my turn 1 better, and probably no other turn of the game better. 15 1-drops is a lot. I'm going to resubmit as is. It's possible I'm supposed to drop Legolas's quick reflexes for Thoughtseize. This hand dies to Blood Moon. It's Dryad Arbor into Witherbloom Apprentice as, like, my plan. I don't have a Chain of Smog. I think this is a very replaceable hand, especially with 1 ETB tapped land. This is awkward, but has both pieces of my combo. This is a turn 4 win. We're going to put the Dryad Arbor back into the deck. And I'm going to awkwardly get this Bojuka Bog out of the way. So we don't care about Chalice. We don't care about Trinisphere. We do care about Blood Moon. We don't super care about initiative creatures. Archon's annoying. All right, there is a Chalice. I don't care about that. My next decision is whether or not I just wasteland my opponent. It feels like, on average, this favors me more than my opponent. This just, like, stops my opponent from deploying a follow-up card, like an Archon or a Fable or a Magus of the Moon immediately. Sure, this is fine. So what would my opponent have that would make them Chrome Mox immediately without playing anything? They don't need to hold up Touch the Spirit Realm right now. And that's the big 2-mana thing that they would have. So I don't know exactly why they did that. Possible there's a weird flash hate bear like Containment Priest or something, but am I supposed to play around Containment Priest to not do this? Spirit Guide into Haven Mind Sensor. I'm probably supposed to get a basic. I'm going to choose basic Swamp. That way if my opponent Blood Moons me, I can still Chain of Smog next turn. That's awkward though. Because I would... Like, I could just be walking into some sort of weird flex slot like a Braid, and then I can't play Endurance. Alright, I'll get Basic Forest. Green Sun for 2. Get Witherbloom. And pass. Okay. There is no reason to cast a Solitude on your own turn. Or sorry, on my turn before you've drawn a card. Just literal no reason. Why? Why are you doing this? You do not need a 3-2 in play so badly that it is worth. And you also, like, didn't do it in the way where it gets to attack. Good God. Alright. Yeah, and, like, this Solitude doesn't get additional value of removing another creature. It's going to die in combat to an Endurance. Yep. Alright. I'm glad I did fetch the green for the Endurance. I think I'm just not going to nuke their graveyard. I don't think I want to put another Touch the Spirit Realm back into their deck in case they shuffle. Another Solitude. Okay. Sure. My opponent has used 4 cards and has dealt 3 damage to me. Congratulations. Anyway, here's a Witherbloom Apprentice that now gets to safely resolve. And if I draw... Well, I guess I'm just going to do this now. Like, my opponent has hemorrhaged 3 removal spells this game. If I had not fetched Basic Forest before, I just win this turn. That's okay. It's only Fury that wouldn't have been able to be played out at instant speed as Disruption anyway. Alright, I'll take that damage. Chalice on 2 stops me from immediately comboing off, which is annoying. I have a lot of draws that get me back into this game just very quickly, though. Yes, thank you for paying 2 life for no reason. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll take this damage. I could fetch Dryad Arbor out of my deck. I don't know that it makes sense to do that. Thank you, deck. At this point, I'm going to hold back this creature and see if my opponent stops attacking. Sure. Alright, that is going to let my opponent loot through their Lilia, which is a dead card. Alright, they did not stop attacking. That's fine. So now I need like a Green Sun, a Force of Vigor, something of that general nature. Thank you, Dryad Arbor. You are a helper. So now my opponent gets to loot. And they get rid of a City of Traders as well. That's annoying, but not the end of the world. Alright, the opponent has now decided not to attack. I think I'm just going to turn this into a Bayou to smooth out my mana. And just get the ETB tapped land out of the way. It is a thing of beauty what's happening right now. My opponent is punting to high heaven in every turn cycle, and I have just drawn absolute fucking bricks, so I don't get to punish the mistakes. And 1 turn from now, my opponent gets Reflection of Kiki Jiki Solitude, and then I just like can't realistically win anymore. Cool. I'm not going to concede, because my opponent could mess this up somehow. I don't see how it's possible, but they could find a way. Okay. So this removes my Witherbloom Apprentice. Opponent attacks. There's 3, 5, 10, 12 damage coming in, so I have to block. Go to 2. A singular draw doesn't really get me out of this because of this card. Yep, that is just 5 bricks in a row. Games. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Just the best place to host your deck lists online, just full period. It is. And I can say lots of nice things about them, or I can just show you that I have 328 deck lists on this site, and I think that's about the best endorsement that I can give them. The good news is I have Witherbloom Apprentice and Chain of Smog. The bad news is I don't have any green mana, so this Wasteland costs me this hand. I'm going to keep this and intend on playing this hand like a mid-range hand, and if we accidentally our way into a combo, that's cool. All right, are we playing against lands? We are playing against lands. Sure. So is Green Sun Dryad Arbor here? What's the name of this guy? Outland Liberator. Green Sun might be that, or Grist, or even Collector Oof, or Knight. I think I am not just going to immediately fire off Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. I, in theory, can play this game kind of dodging Wasteland. Go like Forest, Swamp, Plains. Sort of a scary thing here, though, is that crop rotation could mean that I'm dead as soon as immediately. That is what it is. Let's fetch a Bayou, because Yavimaya is in play. I think I'm just not going to pay the life here and throw this into play. And then if I happen to top deck Chain of Smog, I have the ability to win next turn. I can maybe outfare one Urza Saga. My opponent can just like Expedition Map and get another one though. Ah, fuck. We're dead. Not like I had the mana to just eat with Scavenging Ooze though and gain the 1 life. Alright. So we effectively died on turn 2. GG. I can play a Spore Frog, so that same thing can't easily happen. Can play Force of Vigor to remove Urza Sagas and Explorations and maybe even Sphere of Resistance. Ramunap, Path are defensible. My opponent is not going to have that much instant speed removal. I think I can cut Legolas's quick reflexes here. Gaddock Teague is not particularly impactful. So that gets me Yah, and 2 of these. I'm going to go down an Oath of Ghouls for Ramunap Excavator. To just kind of help if I get a little behind on lands due to Wasteland. My opponent's deck is not exactly rich in creatures, so this should, in theory, always be beneficial for me. Good news, bad news. Good news, I have my entire combo in hand. Bad news, Basic Plains does not cast Witherbloom Apprentice. I think I'm just keeping anyway. Just any mana source results in me. I think it's any other mana source will either be green or black. I guess the Bojuka Bog could randomly enter tapped. In the ideal world, my opponent just plays Yavimaya. And then I get to have my cake and eat it too. My Chain of Smog flavored cake. Not Yavimaya. Second chance for Yavimaya. Wasteland. Okay. Makes fetching Bayou really awkward if I have to do that. Basic Swamp. Basic Swamp. Fuck. Alright. We're chilling. I knew this was a possibility in keeping this hand. Aga's fine. I'm more worried about pieces of the combo package than I am any other random land. Well, that's something. It comes down a touch late here. Alright. We'll draw black mana eventually. I think I'm just on basic forest dot plan here. Alright, so let's see what my opponent gets. Alright, they are staying on the fair beatdown plan and are just picking up a second Urza's Saga. And am I just... okay, I'm just losing that. That's fine. So we're going to have 2 Urza Sagas to deal with. Only one makes counters immediately. Looks like blue is in there for presumably Uro. Wasteland's not exactly great. But Wasteland kind of gets me black mana. Well, I guess it gets me black mana. I mean, kind of. Like, Knight could just get Pithing Needled here. And that would make me sad. I assume my Wasteland gets Wastelanded, but, like, maybe not. I guess my opponent's mana is a little tight. Trampoline boys. This is fine. We equipping? Okay, we're just making another dude. That's fine. So I guess my opponent could have a Lusterstorm available. Otherwise, it seems like I'm good. This is a good pickup as well. So let's do this. Fetch. I think I'm just going to make a black mana with this Bayou. And then just immediately sacrifice it for a basic. Black. Oh, no, I've got a better line. Oh, no, yes, I do. I could have done this even better, though. So I will black-green, play Witherbloom Apprentice, wasteland my opponent's open mana. Okay, now the coast is theoretically clear. Chain of Smog targeting myself. And a few clicks later, my opponent concedes. I don't think I am changing anything about how I sideboarded. Neither is my opponent from that speed. This is a mediocre hand. Like, I'm pretty good against Merit Lage. I'm not the best versus Urza Saga. I think I would just be more confident keeping a 2-land hand. This is fine. My opponent is going to 5. I'm definitely keeping. I think I'm just going to get rid of the Bayou, with my generic plan being Wasteland, an initial like Urza's Saga from my opponent, or an initial combo piece, and then hope that Collector Oof shutting off like a Mox Diamond or something is a game-winning follow-up. All right, there's Exploration. There's a Stage, which I think I'm just going to take out while my... That's interesting. I don't think I fired that off yet. So this is not great if my opponent specifically has Life from the Loam. Otherwise, I think I'm good. And I'm going to try to greed with this Force of Vigor a little bit, because sometimes I just get to like get an Urza Saga and an Exploration at the same time. And it's kind of a big deal. All right, my opponent is out of lands. Cool, cool, cool. Is this ever Dryad Arbor now? I don't think so. It seems like my opponent is just going to pass the turn. Go ahead and just draw a bird. What am I doing? I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Collector Oof off 2 basics. Don't immediately need white mana. And I think I just don't want Mox Diamond to be a valid mana source for my opponent. I don't think I want them to be able to tutor for a Thespian Stage with a Expedition map either. Ye old crop rotation. Just getting white mana. Not immediately firing it off on Collector Oof. This is fine. It's better for me if I draw another land. I think this is fine. I think I'm going to let my opponent keep these for one more turn. Just advance my own mana here. And then next turn, hopefully I draw a land, and I can play like a Witherbloom Apprentice and Force of Vigor, Pitchcast in the same turn cycle. Everything is a better land now. I have to keep in mind that Endurance is now a card that should be on my radar. Not quite yet because of Sphere, but soon. Still think I'm not quite at. Just immediately remove Sphere and Exploration yet. Oh, it's at 16. Let's bait out the first Swords to Plowshares. Oh, not Swords to Plowshares. Celestial Purge, which I think is exile a black or red permanent, if memory serves. It is notably exile, so I don't get it back with Oath of Ghouls, but I've just got another. Okay. Not immediately cycling. Endurance could be a thing. Would I care? I don't think I'd care. No Endurance. 14. Drop a Witherbloom. Sort of an awkward game here we've got going on. Another Celestial Purge. Okay. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. I can't draw another land to save my life, unfortunately. Send him. Opponent goes to 12. At this point, I maybe need to consider just converting this into a mana dork. I have not used Dryad Arbor yet. I think I missed a point of damage. I think I should have played this for an Ignoble Hierarch pre-combat. I think the single point of damage is unlikely to matter. Get Spore Frog. I guess let's make it a Noble Hierarch. Yeah, I missed a point of damage. I was conceptually trying to save that Green Sun because, like, it turning into Endurance is a really big deal. Still can't hit a land. Alright, send it. For 3 with Exalted. Opponent goes to 9. How big are the knights? 3? So knight is not lethal next turn. If knight is not lethal next turn, I think I just want to turn my graveyard into a resource and get Remunap going. Drop a Wasteland, make it less likely that my opponent can get a combo kill on me. This really only increases my power by 1. Opponent can Wasteland my Wasteland if they would like. However, it is a bit awkward. They do. I will Wasteland back. Targeting their white mana, I'm going to make them rotate away their white mana if they want to cast a crop rotation. It is a swords, sure. I don't know why my opponent gave away their wasteland to start that off, though. Like, they can just swords target this, and I go, okay, and then I wasteland them, and they still have their wasteland. Another exploration doesn't do my opponent a lot of good. So I get a new land drop. I can 1, 2, 3, 4 mana for a knight, and then pitch cast on exploration. And that's pretty reasonable. I don't even have to crack this, I guess, technically. Yeah. So there's knight. Crash in with Exalted. Opponent goes to 6. Actually, does removing exploration actually do anything? If my opponent casts Life from the Loam, I just nuke the explorations in response. Yeah, I don't think it does anything. And I want to leave their sphere in play. All right, that was a weird one. Multiple Celestial Purges. It was not something I would have expected, but here we are. Let's see. This is round 3. I have a reasonable mid-range opening hand that will probably just produce a turn 2 Grist. I could end up pivoting and do some slightly different things depending on what I see. We are playing against Goblins, and there's a Skirk Prospector. Probably need to leave up Swords to Plowshares in this turn cycle here so that I can nuke a Sticker Goblin on ETB. So I think that means just doing this and passing. I don't think I'm going to remove the Skirk Prospector. Like, Skirk Prospector can let my opponent jump to 3 mana, but I can just remove the thing that they play or remove the Sticker Goblin and then be in a pretty solid spot. There is indeed the name Sticker Goblin. Savannah? Do Savannah. Slightly awkwardly, since my opponent does still have Skirk Prospector, they can sacrifice the name Sticker Goblin to still get a mana, but they're not going to do a lot with that mana. And this does give me a drain for Witherbloom Apprentice. Okay, they do sack it, which means they don't gain that life. So what are you going to do with your mana? Like, you can sack the Skirk Prospector too to play a Battlecry Goblin that you don't have true red mana for. There is a Spirit Guide into a Goblin Matron. Sure. Finding Broadside. I can Green Sun for X is 3 right now. Broadside's just so good. Like, my opponent can kill anything in my deck by throwing Goblin Matron. So I guess we're in a don't Chrome Box me situation. I have not used Dryad Arbor. Okay. So drain my opponent for 1. Get Dryad Arbor. Play Grist. Grist minus. Sacrifice Dryad Arbor. Throw it at Goblin Matron. Broadside has Menace anyway. This attacks my opponent for 3. And then hopefully they just like spend their turn dealing with Grist, and then I can have multiple Witherblooms on board and do something cool. It's the point where my opponent just has like a 0-drop artifact and they throw something at Witherbloom, attack Grist, that things kind of get gross. Like, Broadside is so very good against fair decks. Ooh, fuck. That's very good. So that just gets to kill Grist. And then Broadside gets to take over the game next turn instead. Draw a Chain of Smog, please. Oath of Ghouls? 3? I can't play this right now. My opponent actually has more creatures in graveyard than I do. I only have 2. They have 3. Okay. I'm going to play another one of these so that I can be live to top deck a Chain of Smog. I don't think I'm ever profitably blocking. Like, I guess Broadside could attack, fling at a Witherbloom, I block, kill that. That still leaves an unchecked Rabblemaster on board. Yeah, I don't think blocks are profitable for me. I think I'm going to try to just get over the hump of attrition here. My opponent goes to 6 when they tap this Ancient Tomb to broadside, if they have to do that. What does this do on a tie? Oh, now they don't have to tap Ancient Tomb. Has fewer creatures, so nothing on a tie. Okay. So I can block a goblin normally, and that's okay. This is so much damage, though. Like, now they're just going to throw the blocked goblin at this. Yeah. Hey, we're good at magic today. Chain of Smog, target myself. And my opponent is dead. 15 or so clicks later. Alright, so I know I want Path to Exile as additional removal. As we just saw, Oath of Ghouls is, like, not going to be super viable if my opponent can put creatures in graveyard faster than I can. Gaddock Teague does non-creatures, so that doesn't stop something like a Muxus from coming in. Legolas's quick reflexes is going to be kind of mid. It can technically stop something like Broadside from killing me, but it's going to be hard for me to have the mana up at the right time. I think I'm probably just going to end up junking these. That means I'm doing what? Using Thoughtseize to poke a hole, filling in with Spore Frog, keeping Outland Liberator as a green sun target, and Miser's Force of Vigor, maybe? Maybe some of these cards that I just put in are worse than Legolas's quick reflexes. I'll reevaluate if we go to a game 3. I have a tough to evaluate opening hand here. So I have a Path to Exile, which is technically a removal spell. But it's a removal spell that accelerates my opponent, so like it is one of my worst removal spells. And Knight of the Reliquary is not exactly a prize in this matchup. I think if I'm looking to race, I want to have the combo in hand. I am going to keep this one. It's not perfect. It needs green mana. But I have a Swords to Plowshares to help bridge the gap if I miss on that green mana, or bridge the gap regardless. Okay, yeah, like I'll happily remove that. That will be worth my Swords to Plowshares. It gets a little more complicated if my opponent just plays a Sticker Goblin, though. Then I might have to give it some real thought. Ooh. Am I willing to take 2 to do that? I think so. Like, Wasteland is conceptually quite good against this deck. Like, Broadside, just attacking as a 2/2 Menace Haster is perfectly fine. It's the ability that is a real problem. Do I Bojuka Bog? Let's say no to Bojuka Bog. Let's plan on swordsing in this turn cycle. Sure. Battlecry Goblin's very good. I'm just going to remove Broadside, though. Like, Battlecry Goblin is a mana sink for my opponent if they don't have other stuff to do, but Battlecry Goblin makes my Witherbloom Apprentice past the turn lines much, much, much worse. Bog you. Now I'm just waiting on a green mana. And hopefully my opponent can't kill me. Yep. This thing doesn't start creating tokens until 6 power gets involved, so it is not a big deal right now. This technically changes my clock if I cast this. I would like to know if my opponent has interaction that can stop me, though. Ooh, buddy. Opponent's hand is good if they hit that next land. Broadside is the hardest thing for me to beat. This is a very redundant hand, though. Sticker Goblin into immediate Rabble Master with Battlecry Goblin already in play is a problem. Yep. Okay, opponent's just going to double activate, hit me for 9, and that just leaves me dead. I need a green mana. I'll take my 9. I'm at 2. Alright, I hit my green mana. That means I am alive. That means that I can play Spore Frog to fog for a turn, and then draw 1 more land that lets me just Witherbloom and Chain of Smog immediately. My turn's fine. They found a new broadside. It's a fog frog. That was honestly exactly what I needed. Any land. That doesn't do it. So I can play a creature but be very dead of my opponent going wide of me. We were very much top decking live all game. I think my hand was a good keep. It just didn't pan out. So now, like, do I want Legolas's quick reflexes? Let's junk Force of Vigor. on the play for one of those. But I'm just going to keep my Thoughtseizes. They're not fantastic, but neither is Legolas's quick reflexes. So this is turn 1 mana dork. Turn 2, I can't play my relevant combo card. I'm going to say no to that. This cannot cast any spells. Let's say no to that. This is an incredible 5-card hand. So Ooze is going to go back. Green Sun is going to go back. And I have a theoretical turn 3 Goldfish. And if I can be a little picky, I'd like to draw a white 1-mana removal spell as my draw for turn. That would be cool. Alternatively, Legolas's quick reflexes is also very good. Rabblemaster is fine. It's a follow-up broadside that is a problem. But I don't have a lot of agency to play around that, now do I? Like, if I don't play this out this turn, my mana dorks, either Noble Hierarch or Dryad Arbor, just get killed by a Goblin token being thrown by broadside, and then I don't end up in the spot where I can just make 4 mana and Witherbloom and Chain in a single turn. So I think I just have to go for it. Chalice on 2. That's rough. Now my opponent probably just beats me in a fair way. I'll trade with Rabblemaster if Rabblemaster attacks now. I will immediately then top deck an answer to the Chalice of the Void. Alright. Jaw. Is this an attack? Probably. Actually, let's turn off auto yields. Let's just get in there for 1. And then let's play a game of thermonuclear war. Oh, fuck. No, the fucking fuck. I had just decided mentally, oh, I don't care about the Chalice of the Void anymore. I'm not going to play this 2-drop. And then I did a dumb. Okay, we're not beating this cast trigger anyway. Good God. Yeah, so I can fizzle this mana. But like the Muxus on board with this many bodies and a Matron just puts my opponent over the top anyway. I'm not going to make them think through it. They've got me. So like obviously I misplayed there and I should have held up path. I think they just like having the Muxus, I think they just easily beat me. Yeah, especially looking at these next couple draws. No way we're getting there. All right, what is this? Round 4. Just hard nope to this one. No. Like, the Oath of Ghouls doesn't do anything until very late in the game. This is just mono mana and endurance. A 5-card hand that has, like, Witherbloom Apprentice Chain of Smog is much stronger. All right. 1, 2, 3. From there, it's a little trickier. I probably want interaction for an opposing creature deck. I think I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm getting rid of one of these two. I think I'm going to get rid of Endurance. And I'm going to play my Mana Dork and pass. I'm going to opt for this Mana Dork rather than 1-off Green Sun. The 1-off Green Sun gives me immediate black mana, but I am not expecting that I am going to just Goldfish this game. And I'm not going to play towards that. Immediately get punished for throwing... Oh, no, never mind. Well, I mean, kind of. I thought I was just going to get red-black reanimated. Ooh. So I have, in theory, stuff that I need. Badlands is a little weird. We might not actually be playing against Delver. Maybe some sort of like black-red Grief Reanimate scam Fable of the Mirrorbreaker Stalactite Stalker nonsense pile. Jund? We're Jundin over there. Sure. Oof. I lost the Chain of Smog over the Witherbloom Apprentice. Alright, am I removing Delighted Halfling? Or am I trying to remove a real creature? I don't know what my opponent is ramping into. I don't know how much mana they have. I am going to hope that taking them off of this mana slows them down. And I am not going to attack with Dryad Arbor. I am straight up just going to hold up Legolas's quick reflexes on it. I just can't lose another mana source here. Yep. Opponent will target this Dryad Arbor. And my opponent does not get their Orc as well. Awkward? Alright. Sorry, buddy. It wasn't meant to be. Chip damage from Orcish Bowmasters is not a big deal. Daggers. We are definitely having some mana problems in this deck. I don't know that this deck can support all of these colors and Wasteland comfortably. Being the Knight of the Reliquary deck as plan B means that you need those Wastelands, though, so it is what it is. No, don't want that. Ugh. Target me. Give me hexproof. Yeah. This is just classic Jund. Just remove everything, discard everything. Oof technically stops a Bowmaster attack, but doesn't exactly feel good. Alright. So what's my opponent's reason to play this deck? Are they just gonna like slam an initiative creature or like Minsk and Boo here? What's the top end look like? Minsk and Boo. Yeah, okay. I don't think I beat Minsk and Boo at this stage. Any past the turn line I do just eats the removal spell here. So I get attacked for 8, and then I'm just dead. Brutal. I don't think I want to be thought seizing my opponent. I don't think I care about Collector Oof. And Outland Liberator, I'll fill with a Ramunap Excavator and maybe a Teague for Minsk and Boo. I could play Path to Exile. I'm just not too excited about ramping my opponent. I'm not overly excited about Path or Leyline, so I think I'm just going to run this. And this is what I mean by the mana base not actually supporting Wasteland all that well. I think I'm just keeping it, and I play my worst mana dork first, awkwardly, just assuming that it eats a removal spell. That way I keep the mana dork that produces black, which is the one that actually matters. It's just a very awkward play pattern. If I just get like thought seized again, I can't play a top decked black card. Sure. I'll attack your mana. Come in with a Hierarch. And I desperately need this black mana. Alright, mutually assured destruction it is. Fucking Dryad Arbor. Send him. Note that if I keep the Wasteland around, it doesn't contribute to black-green pips for this. So that is ever so slightly awkward. And now I'm just going to lose another creature and not be able to play a card unless I top deck. Oh, got lucky. We got 3 mana to work with. Ooze? I think I'm trying to play Apprentice and Chain in the same turn cycle. Alright. I think I have to get Bayou to guarantee that I have black mana for Witherbloom if Ignoble Hierarch dies. So I think I'm just playing Ooze and pushing damage via Dryad Arbor. Rather than holding up Eat the Noble Hierarch in my graveyard. 2 mana. Witherbloom Command. Okay, so they attack my black mana, get a Wasteland back. That's brutal. Yeah. Alright. Ooze Hierarch. Bash in for 3. I think my opponent is just very well set up to win the game from here. Just every removal spell is straight fire at this point. Yeah. I actually think you're supposed to leave the Ooze and get rid of the Dryad Arbor there for what it's worth. But I'll shut up if they just Bowmaster it next turn. I'm gonna just concede. With 0 mana sources in play, I don't think it's realistic that I end up coming back from at least double Edict here. GG's. Something, something, something. Mana base not supporting Wasteland. Something, something, something. Something, something, something. Mana base not supporting Wasteland. Something, something, something. Do I keep this on 6? I'm on the draw. The Wasteland's actively bad. Does not contribute to colored pips for 3 of my double colored pip cards in hand. I can try to mulligan deeper for a combo hand, or I can keep a mediocre hand that maybe gets mana screwed. I'm going to ship it. I'm rewarded with another hand that has mana issues. At this stage, I'll keep. And I'm going to keep the Collector Oof in hand. because some very small portion of the time, it just wins me a game one that I don't deserve to win after mulliganing deeply. Oh, sorry, correction, I did win the die roll. Alright, here we go. I think we're grabbing Bayou. Playing a turn 2 Grist would be cool. If I rip a land. Got a surprisingly long pause with Ignoble Hierarch on the stack there. I don't really know why. Opponent dredging? Or reanimating? Archon, yeah, they are reanimating, alright. So now I get a choice. I can play Grist and put an Edict into play, or I can play Collector Oof and try to stop artifact mana. I think I am just putting the Grist into play here and having... it's not creature or planeswalker, is it? Fuck, it is. Or no, I can just sacrifice the Ignoble Hierarch and then play Dryad Arbor, it's fine. Why not? Or I will also just make a insect this turn. Chaw. I mill the Scavenging Ooze. There's some humor there. Alright, are you just reanimating your tutor? Obviously, it's very good if you do that. A Grief first. So I'll lose the Oof. My opponent reanimates. I'll sacrifice an insect. I have to discard the Dryad Arbor, so now I have to lose my Ignoble Hierarch to get rid of Archon of Cruelty, but that's an okay price to pay. Alright, so I can actually sacrifice this Ignoble Hierarch instead. Junk Archon. And attack. Opponent's at 13. Reanimate stuff still online for the time being. Exhume can be online here as well. Let's turn off auto yields in case Exhume happens, actually. It is unfortunately Animate Dead. So I am going to sacrifice my Ignoble Hierarch here and hope that I draw any creature that I can play to Grist minus and just remove this immediately. Or alternatively draw a white removal spell. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's, I guess, attack my opponent's hand. This could be a negative thing. Slightly negative, yeah. But it's either cast it or it just goes away to Archon anyway. Now I lose this and I lose Grist. And then I'll be on a 2-turn clock with no real past the turn lines from here. Life's bad. I need to draw a white removal spell to get rid of Archon. Okay, so this is attacking my Grist, even though this arrow goes here. So that means that I should just sacrifice the Grist. I take no damage, other than the 3 from the initial trigger. And my opponent also produces a Grizzlebrand. At this point, I am comfortable conceding. Let's move to the games where I get Leyline of the Void, huh? Alright, let's figure out what I don't like. I don't really need Legolas's quick reflexes. My opponent's probably not going to remove my stuff. Gaddock Teague is not good. Outland Liberator and Collector Oof are both pretty niche. They are probably going to end up going as well. Leylines come in. Thought Seizes come in. Let's go like down a Knight of the Reliquary. Let's swap some swords for some paths. Life is relevant. Do I want additional swords? Oh, fucking Oath of Ghouls. Has not done anything this league. Admittedly, we're not playing against like the Bug Beans matchups or anything where like that is just a draw a card with selection every turn. This is reasonable. Perfect mana. I don't think I can keep a Leyline in the Void hand that is this bad. This just has 0 agency at all. This casts no spells. I'm losing my mind. Go to 5. Do I keep this 5? My opponent's on 6 right now. It looks something like this, where I keep a Bojuka Bog for a like past the turn Faithless Looting line. I have access to all of my colors and some removal. Throwing away swords here. I think I'm actually going to keep Wasteland and get rid of the Knight. This leaves me with no threat. which is ever so slightly awkward. Not the best versus just like a random Thoughtseize here. Alright, we're chilling. I didn't get the like turn 2 Bojuka Bog snipe, and I also didn't get the turn 2 Wasteland snipe. And we drew swords when I just bottomed one. Unlucky. Alright, we're gonna stare at each other for a little while apparently. Well, Bayou? What's going on over there? Oh, fuck, okay. You are also doing the thing. So if I put a creature into the graveyard, it just gives my opponent an animate dead target. Cool, cool, cool. I'm good with that though, right? Like I just take Witherbloom Apprentice, make my opponent use some resources on it, and then swords. Yeah. Alternatively, fuck, maybe I was just supposed to take the Atraxa and bog it. Yeah, I think I fucked that up. Yeah, alright. I messed that up. I don't know, the Karakas like keeps Atraxa from being a threat. Like, yep, I just didn't think that through enough. No play from my opponent. I am unhappy with my situation. It's better if I had gotten rid of the Atraxa, but like, I am putting no pressure on my opponent, and I don't have any real hard hate for what they have going on. Alright. Hard way it is. I could just, like, hard cast a ley line. That would, I guess, be cool. Sure. So my opponent is evoking a grief. I can cast a removal spell right now. I think I just want my opponent to use an animate dead, though, and then I'll fire off a removal spell. So swords goes bye-bye. And then if my opponent uses, like, Dark Ritual, animate dead, or Lotus Petal, animate dead for grief, I trade Path for grief and 2 cards from their hand, and that is a much better exchange for me. Unmask targeting themselves. Sure, this punishes me pretty hard for not taking the Atraxa earlier. Alright, so they have Dark Ritual, animate dead. So here we go. I don't need to fire off Path to Exile immediately. Let's just see what this finds. Oh, they've got Sedgemoor Witch too. Alright, so they chose Marsh Flats, Dark Ritual, Chain of Smog, Sedgemoor Witch. Got it. So, Sedgemoor Witch can create infinite creatures with the known Chain of Smog. We're just going to bounce this Atraxa rather than use Path on it. I want Path to disrupt Sedgemoor Witch instead, and I can easily pay the ward. Thanks, deck. Crash in for 1. 18. Sure. And my opponent's just going to chill. Fetching a Triad Arbor doesn't need to happen right now. Doesn't actually add to my clock. Fuck you, deck. Come on. Like, I just need something before my opponent finds a discard spell and I die. Sure. Not wastelandable. Sure. I guess the Triad Arbor increases my clock by... Or no, it doesn't increase my... No, it does increase my clock by 1. Am I really there? Alright. If my opponent found Witherbloom Apprentice, I am in trouble, right? They just put both Sedgemoor Witch and Witherbloom Apprentice into play before they cast Chain of Smog. Oh, they're just at the point where they can recast Atraxa. Sure. Alright, so this is what my opponent has that I know about. Or sorry, there's an unmask. There's an unmask that I just clicked through. So when my opponent casts Unmask, I'm thinking about whether or not I'm Karakasing this. I can just Karakas it later. Let's, I guess, pull the Triad Arbor out of the deck. I guess it is relevant. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Deck. God damn it. Alright. Get rid of that. Oh, there's no Archon. I guess now I'll do this. Maybe I should have done it on their turn. I'm not the most dialed in for this specific game. The mulligan into oblivion, followed by just mono mana sources on top, has been frustrating. Yep. Alright, so you unmask me. If you have another Dark Ritual, I am dead. Alright, there's Witherbloom Apprentice. There is the other Dark Ritual for Chain of Smog combo. I could have played that game a little bit better, specifically like way back on the Bojuka Bog turn. But like it is turn 8 and I never drew anything. So I think I get to get over that mistake relatively easily as long as I don't bottom out like I did. But that's Magic. Well, I think once again we see that Legolas's quick reflexes kind of sucks. I hate this deck. I think this one's poorly constructed, and I want to talk about why. So, Oath of Ghouls is a highly situational card. Legolas's quick reflexes is a highly situational card. The same is true of Gaddock Teeg, Collector Ooze, Liberator, and Scavenging Ooze. So there are 10 highly situational cards in this deck that, if you don't have them with the right timing, they are far, far, far below the average power level card of Legacy. And then as a secondary thing, when you start looking at the number of lands in this deck list that either produce a single color of mana or don't produce a color of mana, it's almost half of them. So this is a deck that can't accelerate into something like turn 2 Witherbloom Apprentice Chain of Smog combo off of Dark Ritual. It's something that struggles to play its turn 1 mana dorks. So like of these lands, only 16 of my 24 lands can actually play a turn 1 mana dork or a turn 1 green sun. And I just frankly don't think that's enough. So I think the combination of a large number of highly situational cards alongside bad mana kind of was this deck's downfall. Like, I'm sure I made some mistakes along the way in fetching. That is always going to happen in a deck that you don't have a ton of reps with, but it was very clear from a lot of these opening hands that, like, the deck list was not supporting turn 2 Witherbloom Apprentice for green-black pips. And Knight did very little in this league. Honestly, most of my cards did very little in this league. But I don't think this like Mavericky style hybrid combo deck list was a good place to be. In this metagame with all the sticker goblins and other fast decks, I think if I was going to play something like this, I would want a Dark Ritual based version. I feel that way very strongly after this league. And Legolas's quick reflexes kind of continues to disappoint. It's not like it had no moments in this league where it did nothing, but you know, there were a lot of situations where it was like, oh, I saved this Dryad Arbor from a Bowmasters, but I'm already very far behind on board, and this probably would have just been better off as something that would contribute to me winning. Sideboard felt solid, though. Like, I liked all the things that were in the sideboard, including the very cute Spore Frog here. So this one gets a thumbs down from me, but, you know, when you see something spicy, sometimes you have to play it yourself to evaluate it and see how it does. And one of the few times that we drew this league, we had to just not play it because my opponent had more creatures. So that gets a thumbs down from us. And maybe this should just be some tutor. But I would not want to try to tune this up and do another league with it. But if you want to do some tuning and take this card to one of your local events, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your next order. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya.